Terry and I, you know, he asked me how much time I needed. I'm going to be very brief. I'm going to talk a little bit about, since you're government affairs, we're going to talk about the state of Texas. I'll give you kind of a state of the state, because Texas has some pretty serious bragging rights right now in comparison to the rest of the nation. I have to say that we kind of had a little bit of smirk on our face as the federal government was going through all the stimulus money, and you had 49 other states standing there with their hand out needing bailout money to cover their budget. And we in Texas were sitting here going through a session with a surplus. Not only did we not have a deficit, we ended the session. We gave a tax decrease to small businesses. Any business that does less than $100,000 in business, we eliminated their franchise taxes. And at the end of the session, we ended with about $9 billion in reserve. The only state in these 50 United States that did that. And that is pretty serious bragging rights. Now, it actually goes a lot further than that. And I'm going to give you some figures, because you as a Chamber of Commerce, I think will respond to these numbers. Over the last year, in the entire United States, over 70% of all jobs created in America were created in Texas. 50 states, 70% of all jobs were generated here. This last week, I was asked to address the California legislature, the leadership of the legislature. And the purpose of that was they were asking, basically, how are y'all doing? What are you doing differently than California is? And I gave the address, and at the end of it, somebody asked the question. That was the direct question. They said, well, what are you doing differently? And I said, well, it's kind of math 101. Y'all are spending more money than you're taking in. And it's almost that simple, is that Texas, because we have a constitutional requirement for a balanced budget, we do not spend more money than we take in. We look at the revenue we have, and then we allocate the revenue. I would remind you that it was only 2003, it was less than 6 years ago, we had a $10 billion deficit that year. We didn't increase taxes, we cut spending. We skinnied down, we lived within our means, and we passed a budget with available revenues. The next year, 2004, we had a $10 billion deficit, and we raised the spending back up. Other states, and California is a good example, California has a $42 billion deficit. And it is only because they want to address the real problem and make sure that they live within their means. Now, because of that, the other things that was recognized is that the person that introduced me for the California legislature was the head of the Manufacturers Association. And the figures that he gave were pretty amazing, that he actually stole my speech, because I was going to give the same things, but he beat me to it. Over the last decade, Texas is the fastest growing state in the United States. We have grown much faster than anyone else. When we reapportion and redistricting, we're going to receive 4 new congressional seats in our delegation. They will come at the expense of California, New York, Florida. As their economies are shrinking, ours is growing. The head of the Manufacturers Association gave another very, I think, interesting figure. Over the last decade, California has lost 750,000 manufacturing jobs. There's 750,000 fewer people in California in manufacturing jobs. Over that same decade, Texas manufacturing jobs went up over 1.5 million. Basically, what happened is all the manufacturing jobs, the Fortune 500 companies, moved to Texas. Today, Texas now, we have more Fortune 500 companies that have their home office in Texas than any other state in the nation. And there's a lot of reasons for that, but the thing that all of you have done is you've expected of your elected officials, your people that you sent to Austin, that you ask several things. You want Texas to be a low tax state. We want us to take care of necessary services, but we are one of the lowest tax states. We're the only there's only 2 states that do not have a federal income tax state income tax on personal income. We have never felt the need to do that. Regulatory. Texas is one of the lowest regulatory states for a business get into business. CEO magazine, which is they do a rating of the best places in America to do business, and my friend from the Manufacturer Association told the legislature, gave them this detail. California today is number 50. They are the worst place in America to do business. Number 1 for the 4th year in a row is Texas. You know, we continue to be the breadbasket of not only America, but we're starting to become the breadbasket of the entire world. If Texas were its own nation, it would be the 7th largest economy in the entire world.